All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all feeling? How y'all doing? I spent the morning playing some music. Look at this. Learning to play this thing. I don't know how it's going. Something like that. I'm still working on it. Okay. Welcome everybody. Good to see you. What's up, Amanda? Long time no see. How you doing, Amanda? Gene, I'm doing well. And what's up, Rockfin chat? What's going on? How y'all feeling? Got a few people in the Rockfin chat saying hello. Denver, Poppy, Judy. And we are live on call-in as well, if you want to call in today. Poppy says, a few months ago I saw the Mississippi River in St. Louis and it was fine. How quickly it crashed. Yeah, the picture, if anybody recognizes that bridge, that's the bridge from Memphis over the Mississippi River, which I've driven across many times. So when I saw the picture, I was like, wow. Pretty crazy. Judy says we got it over an inch of rain with a bit of hail in 20 minutes this morning. Dang. Expecting more this afternoon. A cold front is colliding with a cutoff low. Yeah. The wacky weather continues, and we'll shortly see why. Well, let's get into it. Where are we? Oh, well, we'll start with this. Yeah. With news so depressing. Jessica retweeting Jim Baird. Food prices are going higher and higher in the future. Global food prices are once again facing upward pressure due to record costs for shipping grain in the U.S., a source of about 20% of the world's exports. Drought conditions have caused water levels in the Mississippi River to drop, increasing costs. U.S. barge prices hit new highs. So we're just going to follow these links. Food inflation worries reignite as U.S. barge prices hit new highs. Oh, they're not going to let me read the rest of this. That's fine. Whatever. Oh, you know what? I got a little something. Somebody sent me a little something. Let's see if it works. Hey, hey, hey. Look at that. Food inflation worries. Okay, so now I can read it, I think. No? Oh, I guess I can't. Didn't really work out. But, well, I can read the rest of this. It's just a little blurb. Global food prices are once again facing upward pressure. Cost $90.45 to transport 1 ton of freight from St. Louis, Missouri to New Orleans, Louisiana by barge on the Mississippi River, according to an October 6th report by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I guess that's... why can't I read the rest of this? I don't know why. I thought this was going to magic up something for me, but it didn't. Anyways, that is happening. Um, Choir Boy says, sneaky how they're raising prices. Better read the content weight. They're reducing the portions and charging the same. Yeah, well, that's called shrinkflation. It's another form of inflation, and it is very sneaky. You're right. Uh, so what they can do is they'll raise the cost of something, and then they'll make the package smaller, still charge the same. And that happens. The portions get smaller and smaller, the packages get smaller and smaller, the prices keep going up, so that you're paying much more for much less than you're getting. All right, let's keep going. And this from the professor. One of the dumbest ideas recently touted is to mitigate the western U.S. drought by diverting a huge amount of water from the Mississippi River to the U.S. Southwest. Oh, guess not. I heard that idea too. Yes, it is a dumb idea. And where do you think that's going to go? Oh, the whole Southwest is drying up and all the rivers are drying up. So I guess we'll just take the water from the Mississippi and that'll help out. Where do you think that's going to go from there? I don't know. But let's read about this. The mighty Mississippi is so low, people are walking to a unique rock formation rarely accessible by foot. Tower Rock, a massive island in the middle of the Mississippi River south of St. Louis, is typically surrounded by water and only accessible by boat. But as severe drought spreads across the Midwest and pushes river levels to record lows, people can now reach the rock formation on foot. The river has dropped low enough that you can walk over to Tower Rock and not get your feet wet or muddy. Missouri resident Jeff Biget, we won't call him Bigot, because I could pronounce it like that, but I won't, told CNN. I only remember being able to do this one other time in my life. Tower Rock can be reached on foot when the water level is below 1.5 feet at the Chester, Illinois river gauge. More than 55% of the contiguous United States is in drought, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, which is the largest area since April. And more than 133 million people live in those drought-stricken areas, the biggest population affected since 2016. Severe drought covers more than 70% of Arkansas and nearly 40% of Missouri, up from 5% a month ago. Several locations have seen record low precipitation over the past few weeks, including Memphis, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Springfield, Missouri. A forecast from the Climate Prediction Center is dry, with below average rainfall in the outlook through at least October 23rd. The drought's early autumn expansion in the central U.S. has had significant impact on the Mississippi River. In Memphis, the river was at its lowest level since 2012 this week, and its third lowest on record. The forecast calls for it to decline further to the second lowest level on record. This weekend, the river gauge at Osceola, Arkansas, set a record low measurement, breaking the previous record set in July 1988. And forecasts indicate the river will further drop this week. Two other nearby gauges also set all-time record lows. In total, more than 40 river gauges in the Mississippi River Basin are reporting low water levels, according to data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. A lot of below averages, getting above average in Southwest, so that's good. This is the outlook for the... We got a lot of rain, actually. Pretty good amount of rain. Not last night, but the night before. And It rained quite a bit, which is nice. I'm appreciating all that free water from the sky. But looking at climate chaos, really, a lot of climate chaos going on, and this wouldn't be, this could be something you could point to and go, well, that it has happened before. We've had this low river levels before, right? Sure. You could say that, but then you'd have to disconnect it from the other things happening all over the planet, which are the Yangtze River super low, the rivers, Colorado River super low, Lake Mead, Lake Oroville, et cetera, et cetera. We've talked about this a lot. So all these things are happening at the same time, kind of creating a different picture from, well, this happens once in a while. All these things happening all at the same time kind of point to something else happening. I'll let you take a guess what that is. I was listening to the Slow News Day podcast with Gordon Dimmick earlier, just before the show. And have to give a thumbs up to Gordon Dimmick for saying some good stuff on there about climate change or about fossil fuels. He was basically like, well, whether or not you believe it's causing the Earth to warm, and if you're paying attention, something is going on. Whether or not, fossil fuels are absolutely destroying the planet because they're just filthy. And so we can see that they're destroying the planet because they're just filthy, and we should stop doing that. And I appreciated him for saying such things. Schultze 100 says, dude, it hasn't rained here in 6 goddamn months, and it's hotter than hell. Yeah, there is actually, I don't know where you are, Schultze, I forgot. There is a bit of like heat, anomalous heat going on. Anomalous heat going on in some parts of the country right now. In the South, like Midwest, Texas, South, and then also in the Pacific Northwest is quite warm. Oh, Seattle, Northwest, yeah. Yeah, it's really warm in Oregon, like, warmer than it is in Los Angeles. Crazy warm, like in the 90s, warm in Oregon, and in the, 80s, mid 80s in Oregon. That is just super anomalous for mid-October. And no rain is also fairly anomalous for that area as well. So all these things all taken together. So if you disconnect them, you could probably, try to pick it apart. But if you put all these things together and form a larger picture, it looks like something weird is going on. But anyways, I digress. Here's some interesting article from Yale Environment 360. Phantom forests, why ambitious tree planting projects are failing. And this is kind of talking about, I read through this earlier. Talking about how these tree planting initiatives by various governments around the world are mostly PR stunts. And also they do a lot of tree planting in order to provide carbon offsets for companies. So it's mostly, unfortunately, a lot of the tree planting initiatives are not well thought out, and they're mostly just things that happen in the moment, and then nobody actually takes care of the trees after they're planted. Right? Nobody tends to the trees. Nobody follows up and says, are these trees still alive? Are they still growing? So, but they did a study to follow up on a lot of these tree plantings, and what they found was that most of them did not make it, these newly planted forests. Um, it was perhaps the most spectacular failed tree planting project ever, certainly the fastest. On March 8th, 2012, teams of village volunteers in Camarines Sur province on the Filipino island of Luzon sunk over 1 million mangrove seedlings into coastal mud in just an hour of frenzied activity. The governor declared it a resounding success for his continuing efforts to green the province. At a hasty ceremony on dry land, an official adjudicator from Guinness World Records declared that nobody had ever planted so many trees in such short time and handed the governor a certificate proclaiming the world record. Plenty of headlines followed. But look today at the coastline where most of the trees were planted. There is no sign of the mangroves that after a decade of growth should be close to maturity. An on-the-ground study published in 2020 by British mangrove restoration researcher Dominic Wodehouse, then of Bangor University in Wales, found that fewer than 2% of them had survived. The other 98% had died or were washed away. I walked, boated, and swam through this entire area. The survivors only managed to cling on because they were sheltered behind a sandbank and on the mouth of the river. Everything else disappeared. Anyways, researchers found little evidence that government-led planting in India resulted in more tree cover, carbon uptake, or community benefits. It was a complete disaster, says Jim Enright, former Asia coordinator of U.S.-based nonprofit Mangrove Action Project. But no one that we know of from Guinness or the record planting proponents have carried out follow-up monitoring. Anyway, such debacles are not unusual. Give me 1 second, Jenny, and I will take your call in one moment. Such debacles are not unusual. Forest scientists say that they are surprisingly frequent, and they warn that failed afforestation projects around the world threaten to undermine efforts to make planting a credible means of countering climate change by reducing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere or generating carbon credits for sale to companies to offset their emissions. And then there's another high-profile case in Turkey where they planted, 300,000 trees. No, 11 million trees at 2,000 sites across Turkey. 2 months later, there was a survey that reported they had found as many as 90% of the national plantings had died. Wow. The government denies this, but experts say its counterclaim that 95% of the trees survived was improbably high. So this, just kind of goes on and points out that this is not well thought out. This is not a well thought out thing. A lot of these initiatives are not properly undertaken. And it goes on to say, unanimity for support of tree planting may reduce the impetus for critical analysis of what is achieved at each project, right? Because everybody's like, yay, tree planting. That'll do it. We're saving the planet. There is no anti-tree lobby, which you wouldn't really expect. But I'm going to go down here. There's... even the best planned planting projects can come undone, leaving behind non-existent forests and uncaptured carbon. Also, some of the forests that are used in these carbon offset schemes are... Here's another thing I didn't really know that was going on. This is very insightful. So, in this carbon offset program, they put aside some of the offsets as insurance, right? Because some of the offsets are allocated to certain parts of the forest, but parts of the forest actually burn down, and then those offsets are gone, right? Up in smoke, literally. And so they've put aside part of the carbon offset, offsets into a fund, but that fund is being depleted because so many of these forests that are used for carbon offsets is so weird, right? It's like this forest is being managed as a carbon offset for Microsoft. It's like, it's creepy. And you know, carbon offsets are a big scam. Anyways, we know that. We know that carbon offsets are a scam. They're just um, allowing these companies to continue to destroy the planet, and you know, let everybody make everybody think that, oh, we're offsetting our carbon footprint, you know, by managing these forests or planting these trees. It still results in the same thing: planetary destruction. And lastly, this is the point I wanted to get to. Forest ecologists say creating space to allow nature to do its thing is usually a better approach to restoring forests than planting. Right? One of the best things you can do is leave that forest alone. Right? How many times have we had discussions about this? How many times, you know, this has been a subject that has been brought up, you know, over the years several times, but um, you know, you can call it what you want, rewilding or whatever, but the best thing you can do is just leave the forest alone. To not bring in the tourists, to not build the roads, to not create a visitor center, to not allow mining or logging or other things to go on in there. But it's difficult to leave these forests alone, right? Because they're constantly being attacked all over the planet. These, you know, what little pristine forest areas are left are being constantly encroached upon and attacked by various entities, mostly mining, logging, agriculture, whatever. Um, and that has been well documented, right? Especially in South America, where they have these uh, they have these, you know, forest areas, wildlife areas set aside, and they're shrinking. You know, they gradually shrink because, you know, poachers, you know, legal or illegal entities go in there and try to get whatever they can get, right? Animals, insects, lumber, etc. Um, so I don't know. We need to back way off of the thing. You know, again, it's the human activity and the scale at which is happening that creates the incentive to destroy these forests. So if we could only take it down about 863 notches, maybe we could leave these forests alone. Anyways, interesting article that will be in the show links on Patreon. Hopefully today. All right, let's stop for a second. I'm going to take this call from Jenny. How you doing, Jenny?
Good. I worked as an actor in Yellowstone in the summer of 1987 and
Okay.
enjoyed the glories of the park.
Yeah.
And if you'll recall, there was a huge fire in 1988, the year right after I was there.
Okay.
And there were people on the news saying, oh, the park's never going to recover. You know, it wasn't 6 months before you saw all of this amazing new growth. And
Mm,
the fires are part of the life cycle
sure.
of these forests. And when people understand that, then you can calm down a little bit and realize the fire cracks open the pine cone, which spreads its seeds all over. And then you have all this new growth. And so, where the problem comes is where people have built their homes in the midst of
Right.
these great forests. I'm now in Colorado, and we've had so many fires and so many homes lost over the last little while because we just had this big Marshall fire came down into the foothills, which is almost unheard of.
Yep.
Took
I
down
remember that.
2,000 structures.
Yep.
Some of my friends, personal friends, lost their homes. So how do we coexist? It's not easy, you know. It's
Right.
not easy, and a reverence for the cycles of the forest is a healthy place to be. And isn't it funny watching these billion-dollar corporations virtue signal with their trees
Yeah. Right.
that nobody
Right.
wants to take care of, and they just get the photo up, and we're good. The
Yeah.
hypocrisy never stops with those people.
Yeah. It's a crazy idea you know, to allow corporations to keep doing what they're doing, but somehow, and that's all part of the whole the net zero scheme, that somehow we're going to get to
Yes.
net zero. And how they envision that happening is that, right, with all all the offsets and all the exemptions and that, right, so that basically business as usual is going to continue on the planet, but we're going to do some magic accounting to make it seem like they're not actually doing the damage that
Well,
they're
and
doing
the
the damn
the
planet. So it's like, oh, sorry. Oh, hold on. Okay.
I dropped it in um, to say that we can take water from the Midwest and transport it somehow to the West. I'm up by the Continental Divide. The water that flows from west to east through
Mm,
Colorado, Nebraska,
right.
Kansas, all of this water feeds the tributary to the Mississippi. You're not
Right.
pushing that water back uphill. It's a mile high. You'd have to push that water. So that was kind of fallacious thinking. But,
Yeah, it's a wild scheme. It is a
these
wild scheme. What are they going
these
to do? Build a
barges,
pipeline, a water pipeline from, you know,
yeah, no, in time to save the West.
right.
These barges that go down the Mississippi transport upwards of 90% of our grains.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
barges are a really cheap way to transport
Yeah.
those foodstuffs, and they go all over the world. And
Yeah.
to have those stopped and stuck in various places on the Mississippi, that's what the article was. And then the costs of shipping have doubled over the
Right.
last little while for these barges. And so we're entering a perfect storm,
Right.
just the perfect
Right.
storm for a food crisis.
It's
And I hope people
unfortunately
are
true.
aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope they're preparing.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Exactly. I mean, at least know what's coming, so you're not like
well.
surprised,
I just put in I just we buy our foods from mostly from farmers. The
Hmm.
the the foundational diet that we eat is rice, beans, and grains, and so I purchase those directly from farmers. And I kid you not, I bought everything I need for the next 6 months for our family here in our own space, and it cost me $200.
That's
That's it,
amazing. That's great. Yeah. That's
and we will
wonderful.
not starve. It's
Right.
not going to be very fun, living
Right.
on rice and beans is not that fun, but
Uh,
we won't starve.
right.
And I
I
really
live on
think
rice and
if
beans
you
anyways. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Anyways,
I
I
mean,
mean
it's
that's
the
just
only
kind of
way to
my
survive
normal diet. So
anyway.
I'm not mad at
Yeah,
it.
well, I'm talking like if adding in a little bit of dairy or meat
Right.
to
Right.
just, kind of
Sure.
round it out and make it more palatable. But, you know, rice, beans, a little bit of salt, maybe some powdered milk if you've got some kids, you can survive. And so
Yeah.
to switch your thinking from, oh, I have to have my current diet for the next 6 months while this worldwide food crisis manifests, to just saying, what do I need to survive? Most people can afford that. Or if you don't
Yeah.
spend $200, spend $50. Get a 50-pound bag of rice and a 50-pound bag of black beans.
Right.
Most people can afford that. So there doesn't have to be the starvation, is my point.
Yeah.
But it's really tricky to try and break through the barrier of
Sure.
the walls people put up and thinking things are going to stay the same.
Well, I'm glad you're saying what you're saying, and I think the more people that can hear, uh, you know, it's kind of like it's like telephone. Like we're all kind of just trying to spread a message, not of like, oh my God, it's all falling apart, but like, hey, this is what's happening. Something is coming down the pike, and like, just be aware and do what you got to do. And so, I think it's good to just spread the message of awareness. I was just curious, are you in eastern Colorado or western Colorado?
I'm in Boulder, right at
Oh,
the foot
okay.
of the Rocky Mountains by
Mm,
Rocky Mountain National
okay.
Park.
Right.
It's 5-minute drive to get into the mountains from where we live.
Right. Right. It's such a big state. There's so many like beautiful parts of Colorado. Like yeah, I love it there. Um,
Why I love living in the location I do is because the water supply for our area
yeah.
is gravity fed.
Yeah.
So even if the power goes out, I think we're still going to probably get our water, which,
Yeah.
in other places where they're pumping it using electricity, that's going to be an
That's gonna
issue if
be.
the power's out.
I always thought that would be a really good place to go. Like I used to drive on the 70 through the Rockies all the time. Um,
Yeah.
in my commute, and so like in that area, Utah, Colorado, like in that along the 70 and the Rockies there, like that would be a really great place to be eventually. Like to kind of like
There are a
ride out
lot
some
of people
storms.
I've crossed. Yeah, no, there are people I've crossed paths with over the last 30 years since we've lived here
Yeah.
who are this is just how they live. This is how
Hmm.
they think. They're just preppers in their hearts. There's no,
Right.
craziness attached to it. This is how you live.
Right.
And
Sure.
especially for the people up in the mountains, sometimes they'll get cut off with a blizzard and not be able to get out for several weeks.
Right.
And so they're in the habit of just having food stored away and supplies. And,
Yeah.
just again, it's the thinking, I think, that is so important
Yeah.
when you're pondering what you need to do to survive, and to not allow your own fears to paralyze you. If you
Yeah.
can step beyond the fear and just say, hey, I'm going to just do this, I'm going to do it today, put in a couple of cases of water, a couple of bags of food, and just trust that if something comes down, I can shelter in my own space wherever you are, and just, just live.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to be victims. That's my message. We don't have to be victims.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jenny. I appreciate the call. Thank you for that.
Thanks. Great show. I love listening.
All right. Thank you. Bye. All right. Let's keep going. Oh, I want to see. A really good way to support the show is that buy me a coffee. And Andrew Lubbers has bought me a coffee. Thank you, Andrew Lubbers. I appreciate that. No message, but just a coffee, and thanks so much. All right, no Rockfin tippers yet as of today, but we'll just keep on going. Always just so much to cover. I can't cover it all. I can't talk about it all. It's impossible to try, but I try to get a good portion of the things that I think are important to cover. Anyways, extreme temperatures around the world. European warm spell. Quite warm in Europe, also in mid-October. In Spain, they had over 30 C. France, 5 stations above 29 C. This is just the beginning. The next 3 to 4 days will be warmer. Stay tuned. So yeah, little like late summer, early fall, warm spell in Southern Europe. More actions from I think the Just Stop Oil folks. These it's really on one level. Well, this man is spraying the Aston Martin showroom in London with paint hours after they were branded thugs and vandals by the UK Home Secretary. I don't believe that these guys are fake protesters. Honestly, I don't think the system really likes these people doing what they're doing at all. So I don't actually agree with the fakeness, calling this all fake. I just don't think that's right. Unless I see something different, unless you have some definitive information for me. But man, the comments on this were pretty negative. And what a lot of people are saying are these people are brainwashed. I think that's, are they brainwashed? On this particular subject, I would have to disagree with that. I'd have to disagree with that just based on the evidence. But, these people are doing the things that they think are right. There is very, very divisive, emotional reactions to these kind of actions right now, to environmentalism as a whole, and environmental protesters. People are very divided on this and very emotional about it. That's where we are. And probably will get that emotional division will get worse. I'm guessing. Yes, Urban Hermit. It is Plaid Shirt Week. Actually, this is a very vintage. This is my dad's shirt. This is way back in the day, plaid made from wool. When they used to make them from wool, they don't really make them from wool anymore. Uh, and it's got like some home sewed in buttons and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, that's interesting. Denver saying, I'm just trying to understand why the solar intensity is noticeable and hot. My search for understanding led me to the NASA article on its retraction during a solar minimum more than was proportional to the solar decline. People have been really commenting, really noticing. That's another, observational data point that people only really people that are interested or paying attention to the weather and the climate and what's going on. Like if you're I spend my day in a air conditioned box and all this climate stuff is hooey, right? If you're one of those people, you're not going to notice this stuff. But when you go outside, people talk all the time about how hot the sun feels, and also, again, the same type of people will talk about how high the UV is and how dangerous that is for people. The thermosphere, okay. All right. Got it. Okay, I got the link. I'll probably look at that later. Um. Oh, sorry. Okay. This sent to me from Life Ground Zero. Germany is going to dispose of 800 million masks. Thermally dispose of 800 million masks. Wow. They're going to burn up these masks. Apparently they said that they're unused, and Germany purchased them in the first months of the pandemic. 20% have been deemed defective. They've passed their sell-by date. I didn't know that, these are paper masks. I didn't know they go bad. Do they go bad? I don't know. It seems kind of weird. But they're going to burn them. They're going to just incinerate them, I guess. I don't know. Is that going to be good for the environment? I guess maybe better than all of them getting like blown around the world, right? Put in a landfill and then they just get blown around the planet. Which is probably, there's a lot of masks still just blowing around the planet. There's a lot of people still wearing masks. It's kind of like, okay. I mean, do it if you want to do it. If you think it's helping you, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just a little bit like, okay. That's me. That's me. That's my opinion. Here's something from the professor. A new study claims that acidification in the western Arctic Ocean is currently happening at a rate 3 to 4 times higher than in all, other oceans, all due to climate change. Acidification. Climate change turning Arctic Ocean into acidic soup where no marine life can thrive. This is from a new study. acidification rate is correlated to sea ice loss speed that is caused by climate change. That is not good. Once CO2 is dissolved in seawater, it becomes carbonic acid. In turn, this lowers the ocean's pH level, implying that it becomes more acidic, harms organisms sensitive to acidity. Yikes. Well, and then this kind of correlates to, we've been talking about the cancellation of the crab season, crabbing in Alaska, because these crabs just disappeared. Where did they go? This is kind of funny though, because it's a bit, it's like using words to kind of direct people's minds away from like what really happened. Kind of like, the Crimean Bridge caught fire or collapsed. They're like, what? I don't know. I think people saw a big explosion there, but they were trying to tell people that it just caught fire, or something. So, so they're using the word disappear for these crabs. It's like, well, disappear. What do you mean disappear? Do, millions or billions of creatures just disappear into the air, just into the, it sounds almost magical, or implausible. Where did they go? Peter Dine says 1 billion crabs just don't disappear. Yes, 1 billion. Thermal intolerance in the ocean isn't just killing off the coral, it would appear. What do people reliant on the sea do when the ecosystem collapses? He goes on to say the crabs may have migrated further north looking for colder waters, but it's more than likely they perish, right? They're just saying disappeared. No, that probably they're gone. They died. They died off. They went away. Big wake-up call for the diesel-powered fishing fleet in the harbor. Some of the replies show the insanity of misinformation. Some actually think this is another conspiracy. And it's funny because I have actually seen people on Twitter say just that. Oh, they just said the crabs went away and they canceled the crabbing season. And it's another WEF. Are you sure? I don't know. Do you have evidence of that? Do you have evidence that there's still crabs? I want to see it, right? If there's still crabs there, if they're making it up, if somebody has, firsthand information, please. I want to see it, but just saying it doesn't make it so. Remember, just saying anything doesn't make it so. Just because I think, it's good. This is a good opinion here. I just said it. It does not make it true. And also, again, I'll say this. If this was a singular instance, you'd get a lot farther with the whole, like, I'm going to, deny that maybe this instance actually happened or not. But like, you have these things happening all around the globe. You have these things happening in various parts of even the U.S. On the East Coast, fisheries are in trouble. This has actually been an ongoing problem all through the Pacific Northwest and in Alaska, where fish are, crustaceans are going away, fish are going away. This is an ongoing problem, and it is due to the warmer waters. Why the water's warmer? Because the globe is warming. That's just what's happening. So if you didn't know all of that, you could go, well, they just made this up to do the things. To the twirl the mustache. I liked that. I'm still thinking about that article I read the other day, which is a great article. And I liked his the visuals of the mustache twirling evil people. There are evil people, actually. I do agree that there are evil people trying to do bad things. They are there. but in this case, it's not. Gene says it's a huge problem in Costa Rica. We now have laws strict about fishing, right? Because the fish are going away. The fish are going away. I have a friend who is a fisherman who, sport fishing, whatever. We'll just, we won't judge him for that. But on Facebook, he was like, I'm out. We went out, I go out to go, sport fishing for tuna or big fish. And they're just not there anymore. They're not there anymore. These are just, regular ass people like fishermen. They're not there anymore. Okay. I don't know. They're not making it up. That's called, observational data. Alan Savory, go out in the world, go, see for yourself if these things are happening. Let's see. Putin's crabs. That's good. The dude. Putin did it. Putin is all powerful. He can do all things through Jesus. Putin invaded Ukraine, causing a shortage of crabs in Alaska. Must be it. Denver asks, would acidification also be encouraged by using various sulfate particulates for cloud seeding? I mean, maybe. Sure, you could add that to the mix, but I don't know if that would be. Sure. I would say go ahead and add it to the mix, but I think again it would be there are multiple things going on. It might be part of the problem. I wouldn't say that it would be the problem. But, who knows? Let's keep going. We're almost at the end. Almost, I think. Saw this and thought this was interesting. I read through this from Truth Out. The UK could be on its way to the third prime minister in 3 months. Yeah, this is an interesting story. I guess Liz Truss Liz Truss just gained power in the UK, and it's like everything is falling apart. They have deep economic issues. And I guess what they were going to do was roll back like taxes on the wealthy and on corporations. They were going to do the old, I'm coming in with the tax cuts, the usual Republican kind of thing. Excuse me. Right. The Republican playbook is come in, promise a bunch of tax cuts, mostly for the wealthy, and industry. And right. And they're like, well, we like this person. We're going to get behind them because they're going to lower our taxes. But what happened was, they announced this tax cut program, and the economy immediately, the stock market immediately crashed. They had to do the, pump money into the system in the UK in order to keep it from going completely downhill. It was a disaster, them announcing this. So basically, Kwarteng, the chancellor, is gone already. Didn't even last more than a few weeks. Because basically what they're doing is blaming it on him, making him the person that proposed this tax scheme. And so they had to jettison somebody from somewhere in the party in order to make it look like, oh, it was his fault. Kwasi Kwarteng was the guy. And so he's already fired, and everybody's like, and they're saying basically they're about to get rid of Liz Truss. not looking good in the UK. And if everybody remembers, Boris Johnson actually came to power. Not he wasn't elected. Boris Johnson came to power in the same way that the David Cameron lost control and Boris Johnson came in, and then I think he called a snap election and won the snap election. But he came in, you know, on the tails of a no confidence situation. 38 days in office for Quasi. Yeah. Um. Anyway, I don't know. Doesn't look in the UK because I don't know how to pull. The government is in a shambles. The economy is tanking, and I don't know who's going to pull them out of this. And it's not really going to be good for the rest of the planet, right? If UK fairly major player on the economic stage, so if they can't hold it together, there could be some dominoes to fall. You know what? Well, we'll talk about this a little bit. January 6th, right? I don't know. We haven't talked about January 6th in a long time, but there was this release of footage from Nancy Pelosi, about what they were doing. And a lot of people are actually saying this proves that the Democrats kind of engineered this a little bit. This is from Fiorella Isabel. She said, after being on the ground on J6, I received insults for saying it was an insurrection or coup. It wasn't an insurrection or coup, but an FBI intelligence-led event. And that's, a lot of people who have looked at this. Oh, geez, I'm still on YouTube. Think that there are funny things going on. Anyways, there's some interesting footage released by Nancy Pelosi about this, but I'm still on YouTube. So I don't know how much more I'm going to say about this. Just people have questions about what happened that day. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I'm going to check my Buy Me a Coffee. I meant to actually jump off of YouTube before I talked about that. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Maybe I'll... Do I want to jump off for the last 5 minutes? I'm debating. Yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Maybe I'll come back and talk about it tomorrow on Rockfin. But it just was interesting that they released this footage now, right? They've had this footage. How long ago was that? It was like 2 years ago almost. And now is the time to release the footage about what happened. That was the first question a lot of people asked. Now? Anyways, interesting times. No more Buy Me Coffees today. I didn't get any tips on the Rockfin today, but thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. There are other ways to support the channels. I think you all know what they are. Just look in the description box of said platform that you are listening to this on. And I will see you all tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight. And until next time, peace.